Hi, welcome to the beginning of Period 2 review. Period 2 is the year 1607 to 1754. 1607 is the establishment of the colony of Jamestown in Virginia by the British. 1754 is the beginning of the French and Indian War. So, what we're going to be talking about here in this first little 5-minute segment is we're going to talk about the arrival of these European nations. So I'm going to use modern geography to explain where these countries were at the time. But when they arrived in the New World, obviously there was no Pennsylvania yet. There was no Georgia yet. So the Spanish have the modern American Southwest, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, California. All of that land would have been considered Spanish land at this time. In the late 1500s, the English and the French start to explore the eastern coasts of the United States. They're fishing there. Men like Henry Hudson, who's British but sailing for the Dutch, are trying to find a passage to the New World. To Asia north. They try first going up above Russia, it didn't work. They end up coming to what is now Canada, going into what is now the Hudson Bay, going up the Hudson River in New York. They're searching for another way to Asia. What some people are failing to realize here is maybe the future is not in Asia per se, but maybe in this new world. So by the beginning of the 1600s, you start to see a lot of colonizing going on. We'll start with the French. The French, if you're a Native American, if you're in the Mohawk tribe or in the Oneida tribe or Wampanoags, you like the French the best because the French are not here to colonize as much as they are here to trade. The fur trade is huge at this time. It's one of the most profitable trades there is in the world. The French have relatively few people here. At some points in the early 1600s, they only have a couple hundred people in the New World. They are here to trade. They are in what is now Canada. They're in the Great Lakes region. Great Lakes being Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, Erie, etc. They go down the Mississippi River to Louisiana. Louisiana is named after King Louis XIV, who was the French king at the time. So the French themselves, think of it now as they're along the modern Mississippi River, they're along the Great Lakes, and they're in Canada. The Dutch come to what is now New York City. So they call this, it's Manhattan Island, but they call it New Netherland. They originally established a little settlement in Fort Orange, which is near Albany. But the Dutch are here primarily to trade as well. They're colonizing at this time what would now be everywhere from Maryland Pennsylvania and Delaware north to what would now be the border of Connecticut and Rhode Island. So New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, that would have been Dutch. But Manhattan Island, where they established New Netherland, is their gold mine. They have good relations with the Native Americans as well. There were some uprisings. There was some, murder that did not need to take place. But from 1624 to about 1664, the Dutch control New Netherlands, and they're flourishing with trade. The British come in 1607 to what is now Jamestown. The British are hoping to replicate what the Spanish have done in South America and in Mexico. They think they can come here. They can put a shovel in the ground and all of a sudden gold will come flying out and they will be rich beyond their wildest dreams. The British underestimated what they were coming for. What these three groups have in common, specifically the British in Jamestown, and then in 1620 they come to Plymouth. What they share in common is a reliance on the native population for stability, for food, and for survival. In Jamestown, by 1610, 7 out of every 8 arrivals in 1607 are dead. In 1620, when the Pilgrims land at Plymouth, 2 years later, half of the population is dead. But in the north, you have the Wampanoag Indians. In the south, you have the Powhatan Confederacy that's helping to prop them up, and they have somewhat friendly relations early on. And as we'll learn, those friendly relations quickly sour when the Europeans start to see potential in the land that these Indians have claimed and that they're hunting on and farming on. That's going to lead to a huge clash of civilizations again. So when we're talking about this era of history, when we're talking about different colonies, when you hear the book talk about, when you read and you're reading the Chesapeake region would be Virginia and Maryland. The Chesapeake region is rich with tobacco. So like Virginia, the reason that the Virginia colony ended up surviving was tobacco. In this case, it's one of the only times in history where tobacco actually saved lives. John Rolfe in 1612 discovered that you could grow tobacco here, and that would become a great cash crop, and that would keep the British here in North America.